Welcome to what I'm being told is episode 16 of According to Flint, and happy to have a long-time, not old friend, a long-time friend, 11-time world champion barrel racer. She's a pro rodeo Hall of Famer. She's Tony's caretaker and Tyler and Austin's mom. The one and only, the legendary Charmayne James. It's been too long, Charmayne. Good to see you.
It has been a long time. Hey, good thing you did this so we can catch back up again.
That's what it feels like sometime doing these, that we need this to catch up with people. Because we hung out at rodeos. We were friends. You were on the downhill side of your career, but by the time you were 30, hell, you'd done everything you ever wanted to do. But we did have fun at rodeos, didn't we?
Well, gosh, all your friends on the road and, people just having a good time. Some of it was better than other times, but it was a good time.
Yeah. How old are your boys now? Tell me about your boys.
Tyler is 16 and Austin is 13.
Oh my gosh. That's where did it go? My girls are 22 and almost 20. And it just look at us. We still look spectacular and young.
I think, well, you want to say old. If you think 28's old, I don't know, whatever.
But I know your boys, is baseball their main thing? Your boys?
Yes.
I know they're athletes, but it's baseball.
No, they've really focused on baseball. That's been their thing. That's been their passion. They live, eat, breathe it.
So what was that? Was that Tony? Was that their dad's background? What drove them completely to baseball like that?
Well, it's funny. When Tyler was, when he was 5 or 6, he loved Jeff Gordon and, the NASCAR stuff, right? So we raced go-karts. He raced go-karts for a while. And I was like, yes, because really my true passion would be Danica Patrick. I would love to race cars.
Well,
right?
She's my true passion too. I joke.
I know.
That was a softball. Yeah.
I don't mean it in that. I don't mean it in your kind of way, but I wanted to be, I wanted to be what she was. So when he started racing cars, I was like, or go-karts, I'm like, here we go. This is awesome. Well, Tony's like, I don't know. This is my deal here, changing spark plugs and got to have the right fuel in them and whatever else. So, but anyway, Tyler, he started playing Little League and he just got obsessed with it. He wanted to go out and just throw every day. And he made that decision at a young age, I just want to play baseball. I don't want to race cars anymore. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It's important to do whatever your passion leads you to. And everybody's like, aren't you disappointed he's not roping and rodeo? And I'm like, no, you have to love what you do. And so he did it. And then when Austin came along, Austin's the same way. He just wanted, when the time he was 2, 3 years old, all he wanted to do was go on the field. He wanted me to sit in the stands, watch him. Of course, I threw a million balls, just not that I can pitch by any means, but I can kind of toss it in there and they can hit it. I mean, that's just what they did. So we had a great time.
I love baseball. I loved playing baseball. All of it. I have a nephew. My sister's son is a college baseball coach, actually. BYU. Yeah. He's a pitching coach. So yeah, I love baseball. Is rodeo, or was rodeo ever, they know who their mom is, and Tony, your husband's been involved in rodeo in on the kind of, I guess I'd call it corporate side. Is it a part of their life at all? Is there an interest there? Are they knowledgeable about it? How much is their involvement in that?
Well, they pay attention to what Tony does as far as, contracts, and they like to listen to conversations that he has. So they know what Tony's done, and they're both really smart. And on the rodeo side of it, they went with me because I wanted to raise my kids when I was teaching at the clinics. And so I took them with me. One day, Tyler's like, Mom, I'm not going anymore. Any more barrel racing clinics, no more barrel horses, no more barrel racers. Was done with that. I'm staying home with Dad.
Well,
and
cool.
Really, those days are long at the clinics. It's from, 7 in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes. And so they were out on that, and they rode a little bit. They were good riders. It just wasn't what they wanted to do. I mean, they love sports. Now, Tony played football in college, And he played baseball all through high school. He was a good athlete. And I will say this, from competing, I was meticulous about just fundamentals as far as barrel racing, certain things your horses had to do, skills that a rider had to have. Well, Tony picked up on that pretty fast. So he's got a pretty good eye for, what's there. And,
Right.
and the one thing when the boys were young, I told him, I'm like, Tony, I teach people and it's so hard to break habits the older they get. I said, the boys got to have good fundamentals from the beginning, just good basic fundamentals from the beginning. And I think that that's what we worked on, just making sure that, there's always difference of opinion of this style, that style, whatever else. But, you kind of have to work with the individual like you do with the horse. Every horse is different. You might have to do something a little different.
What's your dog's name? What's your
That's
dog?
Frazier.
Frazier. Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondered. It's not a rooster, but what is he? What is he?
He's a Jack Russell.
Oh my God.
He is a fun dog.
You bring up something good. I think it carries over. I've always said in the sport of rodeo, and this isn't discounting the ones that weren't, I always give a little edge to people that were athletes in something else. Because I think there's, you know how to train, you know how to win, you know how to focus mentally. I think that comes from getting coached by someone. And so I've always given that little edge. You were a sports girl, weren't you? Like high school, junior high?
I played basketball.
Yeah.
I loved basketball. And where I grew up, basketball was important. Like it was the big deal. Basketball and football there. The Clayton won so many state championships. Coach Waters was a great coach there. And so it was a big deal.
You will, if your dog keeps barking, you will rival the Justin McBride podcast with the rooster. I'm
going to have to hold him because he's trying to tell me, hey, let's go outside and do something.
Well, it quit snowing in Texas, so you could go outside.
For now, who knows what's coming next, right? Hey, us Texans, we're ready for anything.
No, you're not. Like I said, I read something, don't mess with Texas unless you have 2 to 5 inches of snow, and then you mess them up. So I was down there during all that. And now as we do this, it's been a few weeks, but I was down there during all that, and it was legit a mess in Texas.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in the snow, right? I grew up in the snow, and it's not the same. We're in your area that's not prepared. And then I don't know what happened with the power. There's so much stuff going on with the power and whatever else. It was ridiculous. And so many people can't even get pumps for their wells.
Right. Yeah. Get Frazier. She's getting him. You got him? Or did he run? Oh, she's getting him. Everybody, this is an interesting moment in According to Flint. The first time our guest left to go find her dog. There's Frazier. Frazier, wait, on the show Frazier, he had a Jack Russell. Remember the TV show Frazier?
Yes.
He had a Jack Russell dog.
I know, isn't it weird? But it wasn't like that.
Huh. Hi, Frazier.
No.
Look at for everyone watching.
Sorry.
This is a first. No, Frazier's good.
He likes to be a lap dog, so
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
he'll quit barking now.
Yeah. Kind of segue back a little. That with your boys growing up, and you mentioned they would go to clinics with you. That gave you. I notice on your clinic schedule, you do about one a month. Actually, one a month is what I looked it up to see when your schedules are. That does give you that opportunity rather than being out on the road, out on the rodeo trail. You're giving back to the sport, but you're home more. You have you're seeing revenue still from the sport. That's important, of course. But that does give you an opportunity to be more of a mom when you leave for 1 week out of the month. That's a little easier, isn't it?
Well, the main reason I retired from going was I wanted to stay home and be a mom, raise my kids. I didn't want anybody else raising them. So, I can go do a clinic, and then, Tony and I have to split up a little bit because both boys play. Mm-hmm. And so he may be going one direction. I'm going the other one with one. And, they want us there with them. I don't talk to them during the game. I don't get involved in any of it. I try to make them responsible for what they do and how to be, and, replay it through after the game, what they need to do. I think my mom and dad let me do that a lot. And so, what a great life to be able to go out teach. I mean, it's hard. Those schools are hard. I ride 30, 35 horses at the schools. You're out in the arena from, 7 in the morning till 6, 7 o'clock at night. But I love it. I love helping the horses, helping the people. And these people are getting coached of how to go through it. And, the rodeo industry, a lot of it's been that when something doesn't go right, it's always the horse's fault. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And a
yeah.
lot of people don't take a lot of, they don't take that on themselves, that I need to be a better rider. I need better fundamentals. I need better skills. Mm-hmm. So if I can teach that and help them work through that, it's a great thing.
I will say from experience with my family, there's a lot of greats out there in everything. Roping's the same way because there's so many clinics. People who win are one thing, but people who can teach it are a whole another thing. And I will say you are one of the great clinicians in horsemanship and barrel racing that there is. And I just think you bring that up. You kind of brought it up and something I wrote down. Your clinics are 4 days for the most part, correct? 4 days. Yeah. And that's a long clinic in my world. That is you're giving them their money's worth for one. But the thing I see with you is the bigger picture of what's happening. It's horsemanship, it's maintenance of the horse. And you do get on everybody's horse and ride those horses. But there is a bigger picture, not just ride the horse through the gate. Let's get him working these barrels. Let's go. Good job. On to the next one, right?
Right.
Good answer. Right. I don't think everyone gets on other people's horses. Do you ride every horse that's at your clinic? You get on them to tell them. What does that do for you?
Here's the thing. Over the years of competing, you have so many people that watch from the bleachers, and they all have opinions.
Really?
You know what they say about opinions, and I don't have to go there. Right?
You're saying, so what you're saying is there's barrel racers around the country watching on TV, girls run at the NFR, and they know how to fix the horse? The 3D girl knows how to fix the horse. Huh. Interesting.
I think I don't know. I'm sure it's that way really in every sport.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's really
completely.
rampant in rodeo,
completely.
The guy who, goes and wins every once in a while at a pro rodeo, that guy knows more than the guy going down the road, right?
Yeah.
And it's that way a little bit. But the main reason I wanted to get on and ride those horses is because if I'm going to be teaching you and trying to make you do something on that horse, I need to know how that horse feels, how he rides in your hands, how broke he is. And if I just need to know what the horse is so that I can help the rider ride them. And, and really it's not like everybody has a style. It's this, it's that. I feel like I'm just problem solving, with the people, put myself in their shoes on that horse, where they're trying to get, what they're trying to do. And that's really what it's about. Just knowing the people, knowing the horse, so you can do a better job of helping them.
Is there, and I think you learn more about something like you might know, as a teacher or I was a coach, I learned more about football once I started coaching it than I ever did playing it. And I'm sure you've learned more about horsemanship barrel racing now that you teach it than when you did it. Is there when you go to in a clinic, even in my job, people think I'm making up a lot of stuff as I go, oh, that happened. But I know I can predict a lot of things that are going to happen. I can see things coming. In your clinics, you're obviously going to see mistakes or things with horses and riders. Is there one, if you had to pick one biggest mistake or issue at a clinic that you see, horse or rider, one thing, what is it?
Yeah, there is one thing. And it's why I still, my clinics are still successful, because the norm out there for riders who get too close to the barrels, right, who knock barrels down, or the horse is shouldering, they shoulder the barrel, then they come wide off the backside and they stall in the turns and all that other stuff. It comes from this theory that's out there of pick the shoulder up, move them over. Because when you're going slow around the barrels at a walk, at a trot, at a lope, that horse can side pass real easy, can go up there and you can move them over. And so that works great going slow. But when you speed it up and go faster, and that's all you've ever learned to do is pick up that inside rein, move them over, side pass, pick up the shoulder, whatever terminology you want to use. All that does is put pressure on the inside rein. And so when you leave that first barrel and that's all you know, gosh, you're there in 2 seconds and you've just picked up on the inside rein. Well, that horse, does he say side pass or does he say go in? They don't really side pass. I mean, some horses can move laterally like that, but they don't always go to the barrel and side pass. Why do we want to do that? And I think the greatest lesson is that Scamper just ran in there square. There was no moving out or in. He lasted forever. I mean, that was not that any of that I really knew. That was just a God-given, the moon and the stars and everything lined up just right. But people are reaping the benefits of that just God-given thing that Scamper and I had. And it's just to ride in there square. You don't have to be bending the nose around, swinging the butt out, kicking them around like that. It's just right in there directly. And so that crossing that hand over to hold them off, and then you hold them off, and then the hand drops down and it puts them on the front end. Right. So that's the number one thing. And one of my assistants that worked with me, she used to have horses that ducked and she hit barrels. And that's what she did. She always held them off, picked the shoulder up, moved them over. She had horses that ducked and she hit a lot of barrels. So that's the number one thing.
I giggle because I've heard it all. I've heard all of this with my girls and their mom has made them good horse. If there's a problem, you should know how to correct it. That's always been her philosophy to the girls. Don't go into a situation without knowing how to correct the issue. So, I know when you say move them over, that's called the Montana move over. That's what I call it. You ride into the third barrel and swoop out. The Montana move over. Got to do it.
Yeah.
Things get trendy.
It's not like you can't do it. You can hold them off the barrels, but you can bet the next time they're going to move in there. And sometimes it affects them more and more over the course of time. And anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because like I said, and that I've been, and by the way, I know that days at clinics are long because I have observed a lot. So
you were probably really like, please. Just
I actually, I can honestly tell you that when and maybe it was because I was gone a lot, but when my girls would have an all day high school rodeo, or they'd go to a big barrel racing that was all day, or we'd be in Arizona, I enjoyed it. I started to learn what horses would do and watch every run and figure out and evaluate it with myself. Cause I naturally like to teach things. So I really did always enjoy it. So maybe because that's where my kids were, I guess. So,
well, yeah, if you got to learn to, and watch and evaluate, be the observer, of what's happening. And I honestly, a lot of people want to come do private lessons, and I did private lessons, but I'm like, I can't figure out why these people aren't excelling like they should with this information and the time spent with them. But I think that at the schools, people are watching, and it's not always that it begins just good horsemanship of how to guide your horse, your angles, your position, all that begins. Oh, wow. And they see it, right? And they begin to verbalize it back after, you have that much time with them, and hearing other people talk about it. It just sticks in their head. Like we've had some, really good success of people coming out of the clinics and their time gets faster and the horses work better. And,
you know why? Yeah, I'll tell you, there's an atmosphere in a group setting to learn, and it is why our kids are suffering not being in school. It's why college kids aren't doing as well in college, taking classes online, because in a group setting with other people there, you learn better. When you say, private lessons, they weren't getting the results they should. There is something about a classroom group setting.
The kids really like to be in school. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
But it's similar. You take more out of it when you're around other people all in learning that same thing. And
then the other part of it is this peer pressure of what if I make a mistake and what if I look bad, and worrying about all that. And And like, look, you're never going to get an opportunity where you got 30 other eyes, detailing everything that you're doing with their eyes and watching you. So you're kind of put under the gun a little bit, and you have to learn to just do your thing. You and that horse become one and focus on what you need to do. And I'm not going to say quit worrying about what people think about you, because people will worry. Just get focused on the things that you need, and what really can they think or say that's going to affect anything that you're doing, and I will say this, one of the probably the biggest things I see is people have had somebody along the way tell them that they can't do it, or they weren't good enough, or their horse was this or that, and they really took that to heart and believed that, rather than believing I can do this and use that for fuel to get better, right? So you kind of have this split and this choice, this direction to make of, wow, do I let those people who told me I couldn't do it, just I believe that and I live there, or do I use that as fuel? Hey, by God, I'm going to do it, and I understand that it's going to be work to get there.
Yeah. I agree. That is a huge, completely huge obstacle. In your clinics, I would imagine that you do, I think a big issue, especially with, and you know this, to make a run at a slack at 8 a.m, get in a rig, drive 400 miles, run in the evening, get in, drive all night, run at slack at another one the next morning. One obstacle, there's more to winning in rodeo than just being the best one. You have to learn to travel. Sure. You have to learn to enter. Horse maintenance is huge to keep horses healthy.
Yes, the horse health is huge, right? And so when you stop blaming the horse for everything that goes wrong, right? You take accountability for your riding yourself, but you start looking beyond, okay, is there something else going on here? And that's a whole journey in itself, because you get good advice and you get bad advice, and you have to start learning how to find those people that can help you, and never like shutting the door on, I don't believe in that. That's not going to work there, because I found so much stuff that helped me and was beneficial that everybody's like, oh, that's not good. That's stupid. Don't do that. But I tried it. Some things worked, some things didn't work, but it's being able to be open to find it. And not only taking care of your horse, but mentally having that mental approach of being positive, working hard, and being in the right frame of mind is everything. And you got to have a little success to build confidence to whatever, but you got to put the work in to get there, right? So it's a mental game as well. And just not letting other people, think they're better than you. Just get out of all that. All of it is just doesn't do you any good. Just send all that stuff, what anybody thinks, what any coach thinks, I mean, sometimes I can't believe what coaches say, but they say things in the heat of the moment. And
right.
And some people need that little extra drive. I needed somebody to yell at me because I was timid when I was young. My mom's like, I got you riled up because you did better, because I was a little timid, and so I think coaches, that's their job, is to motivate, and it's got to be a balance of, hey, get the most out of you, but also not tearing you down.
Right.
To a point where you're.
And I know as a coach, and it all carries over. Every kid, the one kid you can yell at and tell him to get his ass in gear. The next kid you put your arm around and say, come on now. The next kid, even just in your clinics. Yeah. Just like horses. Everybody's a little different personality. Yeah. I would think you have good experience on horse maintenance and you brought up Scamper, and I know everything you ever do, Scamper comes up, as he should. I mean, yes. He was amazing. The moon, the stars, everything aligned, but he wasn't even supposed to last, was he? He had bad hocks. He had
he had great hocks.
Great hocks.
Listen to this.
Okay.
So before I even turned pro, the one of the vets told me he had ring bone. He'll never last. Get another horse.
Oh, that was nice of him. That was a good.
And it's kind of like, No.
Oh.
So then I mean, this is like a 12-year-old kid. I'm already learning about DMSO and, making your own mixes and paints like they do on the racehorses, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, I guess I tell people I went to the school of Rodeo, University of Hard Knocks, and it's true because at my school I was like in chemistry, right? That's like, how do I mix this stuff?
So, but his hocks were good.
He had good hocks. He had really good hocks, and the vet, he got kicked in a hawk, and we had to turn him out for 6 months, and he had a chip there, and they're like, okay, he has a 50-50 chance of coming back. And this was before I turned pro, and he was turned out on the mesa there at Clayton, and it was a really hard winter. There was a lot of snow, blizzards. He was in a lot of snow, but ultimately that's probably what helped heal that thing up. And when we got him back up, he was sound as he could be. So, but he never had his hocks injected, and I attribute that. Never had his hocks injected, and I attribute that to him running framed up, squared up through the turns, where he wasn't swinging out. He didn't have that torque through his back. Everything was framed up. And so that's why I try everything that I do today is trying to keep those horses more framed up so that they last.
Sure. It's not just about performance. It's about maintain. That makes complete sense. It didn't have that torque. Staying in position.
They're breaking over more forward than over
this way.
The edges, and so that always made a lot of sense. But anyway.
Yeah. Was he, you and I have talked a little about this, to tell the people, was he as much of a old feedlot Brumby as everybody likes the story to be, that, oh my God, $300 at the feedlot? For one, you didn't pay $300 for him. My dad paid $1,100 for him, and he did think that was too much at the time. But of course,
he
but that was
buy him for a little. Yeah, I know. A horse that wins $1 million, like $1,100 is too much for him. But who had any idea? But Scamper went through. So Buddy Draper raised him, and he bucked Buddy off, put him in the hospital, and then Buddy put him through Lahana, Colorado horse sale. From there, he went to Guyman, Oklahoma. From there, he went to Clovis, New Mexico horse sale. Then he went to the cow sale in Clayton, New Mexico, where Tom Ferguson bought him. And then Tom Ferguson sold him to a cowboy in the feedlot. And this is all up to his 4-year-old year.
Holy crap.
And so, and then the cowboy that had him there in the feedlot, he was moving and he was going to sell the horses, but he had done a really good job on him working cattle, went real slow with them. So the horse I had, Bardo, had broke his leg. It was devastating. He was a horse that I'd won 15,000 on over the last 2 summers. A horse I trained that was a big thoroughbred horse. We had to put him down. So I was like, I got to get another horse. And my dad was, he's like, hey, that little bay horse is really put together good. Let's get on him. And my dad said, now look, he'll buck. You're going to have to be careful when you get on him. You got to walk him.
There's another dog in the mix right there.
That's Clyde. And Clyde only barks when he sees squirrels or deer.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
So anyway, let's see. Where was that?
So your dad found the bay horse in the feedlot. He's put together well.
Yeah, no. So that cowboy was moving, right? And so I got Scamper, took him around the barrels, and that's where my dad said, look, he bucks, right? So be careful with him. So the first thing I did, I took him out back behind the barn where my mom and dad couldn't see me. And I started loping him, and he started bucking, crow hopping a little bit. And I just laughed, thought it was funny. And just I'm sure the look on Scamper's face was like, what is happening right now? I love this little girl, right? And so
what were you, 13? How old were you?
I was 10 or 11.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay.
Right. So anyway, it was just a match made in heaven. And I mean, I was fearless as a little girl. Like the horse I had before, I ran him off a mesa into a herd of antelope as fast as he could go. It was the greatest day of my life. Right. So like, I just fearless. And, so Scamper was like, he knew it immediately, right? It was like, okay, this is good. I like you.
What, as you're talking, and I'm thinking, as people listen to this, thinking the same thing, and I'm sure it's come up. The path that horse took, for one, I'm thinking Seabiscuit, for one. Why no movie about, has this come up? Why no movie about you and Scamper?
Have you looked at the Hollywood movies lately? It's
Yeah.
all, right, what it is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But New Line Cinema did buy my life story rights, and they sent a writer to my house, and she lived with us for a couple weeks, and she wrote a story that was really not that much about Scamper. It was more about, they made up a story about me and a friendship with this bull rider, because I was young and he kind of took me under his wing. And I mean, it wasn't a love story. It was just the strangest thing. And of course, we all wonder, like, why did they do it this way?
Yeah. More than
right?
people know. Yeah, they do it more than
they know. Scamper, he is the greatest horse on the planet. He was Iron Horse. So we are, we're still always looking for the opportunity to get the movie made about him, because he's the greatest horse that ever lived.
Ever. Yeah, ever. They got to do that. There was times, I have heard that there was times in making the movie about Lane Frost that Tuff and Cody went to the producers and said, why don't you just make some movie about some bull rider? Because none of this is very accurate.
I know. I had a hard time. I told people, I'm like, I couldn't even watch the movie about Lane. Yeah. I was friends with them, and everybody told me what the movie was about. I still have never watched the movie to this day, because I just couldn't bring myself to watch it, because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I always tell people, it's not a documentary. Just like the show Yellowstone, about, Yellowstone takes place it's not a documentary about Montana. Sorry. Because on Yellowstone, It never snows. And his calves are born branded and ear tagged. Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know. It's a shame it can't happen, because Hollywood needs to Hollywoodize.
But here's the deal. Part of the reason they couldn't get funding is they said it was too apple pie. It was just there was no anything major happened, right? Yeah. I mean, hey, what's wrong with just, from the beginning, everybody that said that Scamper was never going to make it, and, me starting out and just, not doing well, and finally getting to where, hey, Scamper and I can do it, and being made fun of, and just getting that drive and making it all happen, right? What's wrong with that story nowadays? Give people drive.
Yeah, I agree completely. And maybe you should have, dated more bull riders. That was the answer. You screwed it up, Charmayne. Come on, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
What, you were, in the famous, and I guess this didn't register until recently, in the famous run where you caught his bridle on the gate going into the arena at the NFR, and you won the go-round with no bridle on his head. It was around his neck. You were like 15 years old at that run. Am I right? You were like, you were young.
Yeah, 85. Yeah, I was 15.
Were you just too young and dumb to panic? I mean, no big deal.
Well, I knew what happened, and really, I think that when things like this happen, your brain has to already be like, you can't be in panic mode. I think I had already been in enough wrecks as kids, with runaways and whatever else, right? So it's not really like panic mode. The first thing that I thought of was just act like nothing's wrong. Just keep the bit, keep a little tension, and act like nothing's wrong. And so anyway, everything was fine, and then go running out of the arena, and they start closing the gate. You're like, open the gate, I can't get stopped, right?
Yeah.
But then it was instantly, I got to jump off before we hit the concrete, because that will be bad. Yeah. I mean, even at 15, you're not that dumb. You realize you get on the concrete on your, horse running, it's going to be bad.
And for people who don't know, at Thomas and Mack, the dirt, the ramp, you're below ground level, and it's uphill, and it's dirt all the way, but then you hit a parking lot. Basically.
Well, so the way it was set up, you had that ramp, that dirt ramp that went up, and then there was a dirt warm-up arena behind it. And then from there, it was all concrete, clear to the strip. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is now they have it blocked off. But at the time, that ramp going up obviously helped. And Scamper was a little skittish around people, but my uncle was at the top, and I had the reins around his neck, and I was yelling at him, whoa, 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 and he had slowed up by the time he got to the top, but my uncle grabbed the reins and kind of skidded with him a little bit, kind of, tried to kind of stop him. And that normally would have freaked him out, and he just stopped. Huh. And I always tell people, hey, you better believe you got a guardian angel riding alongside there, because
yeah.
Seriously, there was something divine that happened, that day. And then they came back and they're like, hey, you won the go around. I was like, no. Like, you just don't realize the scope of what just happened.
Yeah.
Until later.
I have one of my best friends in New Mexico is from New Mexico.
Great state.
Well,
they're trying to ruin it.
They're trying to. Yeah, exactly. He claims that you would show up at high school rodeos and head steers on Scamper at high school rodeos. No, you didn't head on Scamper. Okay, I'm going to tell him. Richard Jones. Do you know Richard Jones?
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of those stories that get circulated around. Okay. And maybe I started some of them, like the one that hey, Scamper lays down in the trailer. And so I heard that, like, everywhere I went, they're like, we hear Scamper's so good because he lays down in the trailer. And I'm like, well, only when I go too fast around the corners does he lay down. And
Good job.
Horrified, right? So I had a little fun along the way.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell my friend Richard that you did not head on Scamper. Do you know Richard Jones? Do you know my friend Richard?
No,
you might.
I don't. But I tried to break away a Little Britches, and I went to one. They didn't pay any money, so I didn't go back anymore because I had to pay. My dad wanted me to pay my way going down the road, so I didn't go to any more of them.
Hey, I bring up you were 15 years old at the time all that happened. Nowadays, I don't know that people think about it that much. Now you can't, the WPRA, you have to be 18.
Yeah, I know.
What do you think of that? What's your opinion on?
I think here's what I know. If someone weighs 70 pounds, I think there is a little bit of an unfair advantage with somebody who weighs a lot less, because I don't know the exact breakdown of it, but possibly that half a second is 50 pounds, right?
I think it's Lisa Lockhart said 10 pounds could be a tenth. I think it was Lisa said that. Yeah.
That would be the same thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So I think we're probably on the same page there. So yeah, if somebody's in there weighs 70 pounds, it is a little bit unfair. Now, I don't think that's why they did it. They did that. Right. You had to be 18 because of insurance laws. And when I was 14, I know I weighed 100, 120 pounds. I was, everybody's like, you were so little. I'm like, no, I really wasn't that little. Like, I don't know where,
I never know. I've never known in my life what a girl weighs. So, because I never say.
Well, hey, you train that brain and they never get you in trouble.
That's right. I don't know. I just was wondering if when that rule went through, a lot of people very much disagreed with it. A lot of people liked it. I don't know. There was you. Fallon Taylor was young. Rachel Millimacki was like 11.
Well, and there was Ann Lewis, who was 10 years old when she won it.
Right. Exactly. So
she was killed in a car wreck later, but yeah, there's been a lot of them that were young and did well. I don't know. I don't know. I had the opportunity when I was 14 and would like to think that other people should be able to jump in there and do it. Insurance reasons. Okay. I guess, you got to do what you got to do, but also it's possible, in horse racing, because of the gambling and so on and so forth, they got the weight.
Yeah.
They all weigh the same.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like you. You and I are good at, I don't know. I do the same thing. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't ever get stuck in a box of
I know
this or that. I can kind of see both sides, and
I know. You cloned Scamper.
Yes.
Take heat from that? What was the feedback on that?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of heat for that. I can remember reading a few blogs, and I really don't get on social media too much. I try to kind of stay away from too much stuff, because really people, they're just looking to attack somebody for the most part. I don't really need that. And so or want to see it or read it or hear what they're attacking someone else for, right?
Right.
But yeah, there were things like, oh yeah, if they do that, they're going to create another Osama bin Laden, and they'll never be another Scamper, and I don't know what you're doing, like just all this stuff. And I mean, I can see all that if you don't know me.
Right.
But really, I did it because it was a lost bloodline. You know, the mayor was no more. It was a lost bloodline, and the longevity that Scamper had and how sound he was, and you know, that's something that's missing in the barrel horses today. There's just a lot of not great conformation and feet and legs, and so really, I did it more to, you know, to try to put some better bloodlines out there. And at the time, we were breeding a lot of horses, and we have Clayton. He's a great horse. You can go jump on him and go ride. You can rope on him. You can do anything on him. But, you know, my life shifted gears with my kids. And, you know, I didn't really get into the breeding business as big. I was focused on my kids, focused on the school, and I had to make a decision somewhere. What do I do? And so I haven't promoted breeding them. I used to sell a lot of horses. I would buy horses that were blowed up and sell them. And that's a tedious thing. You fall in love with those horses and sell them, and somebody can't ride them, and then they terrorize them again. I just don't want to do it. I love them too much. You know, that's been the whole reason. That's been a big part of my success with Scamper and all of them is I love the horses and want to treat them right. They really are a gift from God. And so I just think that we got to treat them good. And so that's why I just kind of got out of that. I love teaching. I know I can help. I know I can make a difference in taking care of my mom and dad and my kids. And so that's why I'm not big into the
I get that. I understand that completely. You went to 19 NFRs in a row. There are people out there that have had one horse, went and won a world title or went to the NFR. That was it. Never saw him again. 19 NFRs in a row. How many different horses did you ride at the NFR? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, I probably don't know that number, but I can think real quick. So I had Scamper. I had Magic, I had Sloopy. I rode Boomer, and Cruiser were the main ones.
Right.
And, you know, a few other ones in, you know, just kind of help out here or there.
What was the paint? Didn't you ride a paint horse? Which one was that?
That was Magic.
Magic. Who the hell makes it to the NFR in a paint horse? Nice work.
Hey, I'm an Indian girl. That can happen, right?
It can happen.
I have a Choctaw Indian card, so that's why that happened.
You went on a Pinto. He was a Pinto. I remember that. I remember the year you made it, and I said, anybody that thinks Charmayne James was a one-horse wonder, she's at the damn NFR on a Pinto. I mean, that's saying something.
I heard all the jokes. I heard all of it, for sure.
You needed an app. You needed an Appaloosa.
Hey, I want an app. I want one of those loud Appaloosa horses. That would be so much fun.
Which one did Joe Bumgarner paint its feet bright orange?
That was Cruiser.
Cruiser. At Pendleton, right? I don't even remember the store.
His feet were orange.
Bright orange. Because you did something or you got back. Joe Bumgarner, great bullfighter. He told me I painted Cruiser's feet orange.
I'm not sure what I did to deserve that.
That was the special. It was like a queen contest. You had bright orange feet. It was fabulous. So, and I bring that up because, and I told these guys that helped me, that people you brought it up earlier. People who know me know this, who know me. I told these guys, people don't know it. Charmayne's a smartass. Like,
I'm not really smart. I just like to have a good time, right? Like, I think that's what kept me sane all those years. I just like to have a good time.
One more topic here, and I bring it up a lot. As a matter of fact, people who are around me, and I've interviewed people on a radio show I've talked about it. I've had friends reach out because they've heard me talk about it, these guys. I have a thing. You are a member of the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. There's two things about the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame that I can't believe. One of them solved. How did the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame go all those years and never put a female in there? It's not called the PRCA Hall of Fame. It's a Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And your horse went in years before you did. How did they go all those years and not put ladies in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame?
I think it was just, that's how it was. You know what I mean? It's just a mindset that people get stuck in, and it's just the guys. I think, going back to the equal money thing, right? Barrel racers didn't have equal money for a lot of years. And I kind of dug my heels in on that and went to work trying to get the barrel racers equal money. Maybe I had a little part to play in that somewhere along the way. But, it's one of those things like, hey, now that you got it and it's good, hey, let's all get along and move forward together. I don't really want to look back on it in a negative way, why they did or they didn't. I think it was just an old mindset. And, coming out of that, they're out of it. It's good. The barrel racers are, they're now getting inducted into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. And so I'm not interested in hashing it up. I appreciate them for acknowledging us. And, when I went up there and gave my speech, that was my main focus, is that I'm not going to be an ass about any of this and rub it in. I'm just thankful that they now are allowing people in. It's a great recognition. And hey, just moving forward from that.
Okay, here's another one. And this, you can be more, I'm giving you permission to be more outspoken on this topic about the Hall of Fame. It is, and this is the one I bring up all the time. One of the criteria to be in the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame is you have to be a world champion. There are people, I'm not saying certain people aren't deserving to be in the Hall of Fame. I think there's people that do deserve to be in the Hall of Fame that don't win a world championship. And I always, the one I always bring up is, what if Lisa Lockhart goes through her career? You were thinking the same
thing. I'm like, yes. I was reading your mind, but also I would say, well, Lisa Lockhart is a prime example. What a leader in the industry of talent she has been. You know what I mean? Just, she's a great person. She's won so much. She's been out there. Wow. She's definitely one that deserves to be in there.
But with the criteria of instantly, she's not.
Well, it's just like anything, Flint. We can talk about that here on this podcast until somebody gets ready to go and do something about it, right? And just say, hey, what do we got to do to change this? Right? That's all it is. It's like all the stuff that gets pushed into our schools. Nobody's even watching what happens, right? And we sit around and we talk about it. Somebody's got to start doing something about all this instead of just talking about it.
Maybe it's me, Charmayne. I can name, I did, one of my first episodes was Dan Mortensen on this podcast. He was actually here, and I brought it up to him, and he said, are you telling me Rod Hay isn't a Hall of Famer? He made it to the NFR 20 times as a saddle bronc rider. Rod Lyman, one of the best bulldoggers of our time.
They should be in there. They should be in there. Yes, well, I agree.
See, we do agree on something.
Yes.
I would like you to know that 16 episodes in, I was on the verge probably of somebody noticing this. You're our first girl. You're our first female guest on this podcast. Yay. I know. So, and you should know, and I don't want to keep you all day, and I appreciate your time, and we don't see each other enough. But, we have over in this office a whiteboard of people that we want on this show. And when we said, what about, a good lady guest that can speak out for rodeo? We have singers. This podcast takes in every category. You were my first. If I'm, my first choice for a female to represent the Western sports world and what they do, Charmayne James was my first choice, just so you know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And there's a lot of other great ones out there. Yeah. Lisa Lockhart does a great job. And I, appreciate you reaching out there, and having me on and go through all this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, hey, we're just promoting this Western lifestyle. My gosh, the rodeo people and the Western industry, these people are great people. If we
do not pass it on to someone, whether it's my girls, by the way, are on the rodeo team at Montana State University. They'd rope every day if they could. They have some great barrel horses. I never dreamed I'd make a living in rodeo. and here I am. But if we don't pass it on either to our kids or someone else's kids, it ends, because it's not far from being able to do that.
I agree. I agree.
All right, listen, I haven't seen your boys probably since they were tiny. Tell them hello. Wish them luck on baseball. Tony, that old guy you live with, I haven't seen him forever. And through the years, I watched you. We kind of are the same age. When I was 15 years old, I watched Charmayne James on TV. And later, and even now, what means the most to me is that I consider you a very good friend, and I've always appreciated your friendship. We've had a ball, and I appreciate it, Charmayne.
I agree. Yeah, good friends, and it's great to catch up. Hey, we just air it out right here.
That's right. That's right. You're the best, Charmayne. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Charmayne,
the best.
Charmayne James, everybody.